To repeat, what to track. Typical tracking markers include but are not limited to. This is, again, why does this keep happening to me? The emotional repeats, cognitive loops, physical triggers, external patterns. That's repeated small accidents or annoyances that cluster around a theme. Or habitual reactions, automatic defensiveness. When you start acting a certain way, like, why do I keep getting triggered like this? That type of stuff. Why does this keep happening to me? So that's kind of important. Pay attention. The way I see those loops is these are the recursive loops. The world whispers, then it speaks, then it shouts. So when the loops keep happening, the world is trying to talk to you. It's trying to wake you up. Vadim doesn't go into this a whole lot. He calls it more pendulums. I call it the devil. My brother hates that. But it's like the devil is the shadow boxing partner. Can't get rid of it. You have to learn how to be bigger than it. It no longer touches you, no longer ignores it. When you ignore it, it no longer has that power over us. But those annoyances help us to wake up to our deeper power where we're like, you know what? You are no longer what I am. That wakes us up. So here's a method on how to use them. Record for several days. Write down moments when the same feelings, thoughts, or event repeats. Keep the entries factual. Don't start making a whole lot of noise or a whole lot of story. You're going to have the time, the situation, and how you reacted. Pattern recognition. At the end of the day, scan that list and highlight what's repeating. The identical ones or the closely related ones, the cousins, or, if it rhymes or if it's identical. These are your tracking markers. Locate your attention. For every marker, ask, where was my attention at that moment that was happening? Now, this one's a little tougher and might have to be done more real time. And you're going to note whether the attention was on the reflection, that's going to be the external drama, or on your projector, that's going to be your inner stance. The interrupting technique. When a tracked marker reappears, you're going to use a short practiced break. You're going to stop, take one breath, shift your attention towards the present, and refuse to feel the loop. Don't argue with the image. You're going to pull your attention back. You're going to place it on your chosen frame. So this is sort of touching upon a really, really powerful technique that's used across the board. The more we're able to be in observer mode or witness mode, the more power we hold. So this is really helping us to pull out of being fully immersed in someone else's story to owning what we are. Training cadence. Begin with one marker category, for example, recurrent irritation, and work it for a week. Do not try to track everything at once. This is a recipe for failure. Deep, concentrated tracking of one persistent marker is better than scattered monitoring of many. That focus, that discipline is a tool you're building. So the common pitfalls in this exercise are overanalysis, turning the tracking into an intellectual rumination, analysis paralysis. It becomes an indulgence. So you're going to record the facts. You're not going to replay or justify the loop. You're not going to be like, oh man, that guy really had it coming. I was really right, blah, blah, blah. Self-blame. So the markers are revealing your conditioning, not moral failures. You're going to use them as data for practical interruption, not as guilt fodder. Guilt is absolute garbage. That's on the Hawkins scale of consciousness. Do not make yourself guilty. Learn. You can't hold yourself wrong when you learn. If you don't learn, then that's on you. Then you're an NPC. Then you're a ham and egger. Then you're all that other stuff. Inconsistent follow-through. So the tracking only works if you interrupt repeatedly. Sporadic noticing without interruption is going to leave the pendulum intact. You're still playing their game. The outcomes that you should expect. Greater clarity about which pendulums depend on you. Fewer automatic reactions and less emotional drain. Increased ability to hold presence at moments that previously triggered old scripts. Progressive weakening of the tracked forms and reorientation of attention towards chosen frames. So that's huge. The integration with other practices. The tracking marker is an observational discipline that supports declaring, recording, and working with the plate or braid. It shows where to apply presence, when to reset the plate, and what inner declarations are most necessary. It's diagnostic because we're looking at the problem, and it's tactical because it's giving the moment to act. Zealand's emphasis: the point is not perfection, but an escalation of awareness. Tracking is a training engine. This is starting to notice, hey, the world's talking to me. Am I listening? Am I awake? Am I aware? To bring us more and more into being alive. So this is the habitual noticing that becomes a muscle that over time prevents you from being unconsciously swept into the herd film. How we caught ourselves, detailed summary. The essence of the chapter. Zealand is describing the critical turning point when you realize I was asleep and now I caught myself. This act of catching oneself is the very mechanism of awakening. Every time you succeed, the grip on the film weakens and presence grows stronger. The ordinary condition. Most of the time, a person is not aware that they are dreaming. They are immersed in the reflection, reacting automatically. Even when reading about presence, they may nod in agreement while still being asleep. Awareness slips constantly, catching that awareness is the art. The first catch: at some point you suddenly notice, oh my God, I was so absorbed in my thoughts and worries. I was carried away by the situation. I was operating on autopilot without consciousness. This recognition is the awakening moment. The same as realizing that you are in a dream at night. So, what are you going to do when caught? You're going to stop. You're going to acknowledge that you were asleep. And then you're going to turn that attention back to yourself, to that sense of I am. If possible, touch the braid of intention to reestablish control and declare silently, I am awake. Why this is enough. Every act of catching yourself disrupts the inertia of the film. The script loses continuity and the dreamer regains authorship. Even a second of awareness has more weight than hours of unconscious wandering. Training patterns. The more often you catch yourself, the more frequently the awakening becomes. At first, it's going to happen rarely, but with practice, it becomes natural. Eventually, presence arises not only in dramatic situations, but in ordinary movement and thought. The common illusions. Believing that you're already awake just because you understand the concept. In truth, unless you catch yourself in the act of sleep, you're still dreaming. You're actually just a dreaming person dreaming of being awake, but not taking the requisite steps to wake up. So, expecting one's awakening to last permanently. In reality, you will fall asleep again and again and again. What matters is the habit of returning. This is razor's edge type of stuff. This is constant. This is vigilance. Discipline of repetition. Catching oneself must become a reflex. Every time you wake up, you reinforce the grooves of lucidity in the film. Over time, the old groove of unconscious living is going to erode. Integration with the braid. Once caught, you can shift into practice, resetting the braid, declaring intention, or withdrawing attention from a destructive form. Catching yourself is the gateway that makes all other practices possible. Zealand's keynote. The miracle is not ever in falling asleep. The miracle is in noticing that you are asleep. To catch yourself is already to take the first step beyond the reflection into the authorship. So don't give away the presence. Detailed summary. The core message: presence is the rarest resource. It is a state in which you own the situation instead of being owned by it. But it's fragile, easily stolen by pendulums, distractions, and automatic scripts. The discipline is to hold and not give it away. What is meant to give away presence? It's when you fall onto autopilot, when you're provoked into anger or argument, or your attention's pulled outward, when someone's playing you like a piano. When you slip into worry, self-criticism, or obsessive thought, presence completely dissolves. When you live by others' expectations, trying to prove or defend, you hand over your presence as food to pendulums. Signs that you lost it. You forgot to notice yourself. You're fully immersed in events, believing the reflection is primary, and you feel drained, tense, or pulled. So how are you going to keep that presence? Is wakefulness practice. Constantly remind yourself, I am here, this is the film, I am awake in it. Short resets. A single conscious breath, a shift of attention to the braid, or silently saying, I return to myself. Withdrawing attention. When pulled into conflict, don't fight. Withdraw energy, refuse to argue with the film, and quietly return to your stance. Daily anchoring. Record in the projector notebook moments where you succeeded in keeping presence. This inscribes a state deeper into the real. Why presence matters. Without presence, you cannot set reality. The brain only functions when attention is centered. If you hand away your presence, you hand away authorship. Relationship to will. Will is not force. Will is presence held steadily. Every declaration, every reset of the braid, every conscious movement depends on presence. Pendulum strategy. They don't need your belief. They only need your attention. By provoking you into reaction, they steal your presence. The only defense is not to give it away. The end result. The more you protect presence, the more stable and luminous it becomes. Events lose their power to shake you. You realize your true power. You remain centered even when chaos is surrounding you because you know the outcome already. From this stance, reality bends because the projector is in your hands, not scattered into the reflection. Zealand's emphasis is never surrender the one thing that makes you free, the ability to hold yourself awake in the film. Presence is sovereignty. To give it away is to fall back into slavery of the herd.